Hi, so I'm here today with the first video in the series, and I'm going to be covering dark deities and the infernals from now until the end of October as we get into the spooky season, as we get closer to Samhain, October 31st, Halloween, if you want to call it like that. But I want to talk today about the social acceptance of the Egyptian pantheon versus the infernal pantheon. Hey, if you've never seen me before, my name is Bianca. I'm a spiritual consultant, a demonologist, and a psychic witch, and I work with very heavily the infernal divine. I'm very devoted to Lord Lucifer. I teach all about that over my Patreon. I sell readings. All the information's in my bio. But going back to what I was just saying, there is a strange acceptance, it seems, of the Egyptian pantheon, especially within the Western world, Western culture. Generally, people don't seem to be as off-put per se, or they don't have as much of a problem when you are getting into spirituality or anything that is not religious or Christian adjacent, and they mention, oh, this Egyptian god like Set or Isis. They don't really tend to frown as much if you utter the words Lucifer or Satan or Asmodeus, due to the heavily condemnation of the infernal divine, all of these ancient gods and beings who still want to help humanity. They are not evil, they're not going to hurt you, and it's a bit hypocritical, especially if you are somebody who is open to the Egyptian pantheon, but you sit there saying, oh, I'm not going to do anything that has to do with demons and they're awful and evil and they're trying to hurt me, because on that end you would be very misinformed actually. And there also actually is a weird misconstrued conflation between Chemeticism and the infernal divine, or working with demons and demonolatry, because there was a weird surgence, I believe, in the 90s of a set version of Satanism or Luciferianism, where there was like a church of Set, I believe, that came up as a subset very loosely of Satanism, where people were really trying to push that there's this direct correlation between certain Egyptian deities and gods and the infernal divine, and that is all BS. And to prove what the hell I'm talking about, I literally have right here. I bought this saying Lucifer's name, thinking, oh, I like to read things about Lucifer, and no, this is a weird, very weird edgelord type story about conflating Osiris with Lucifer. Osiris, the deity, has nothing to do with Lucifer. There is no such thing as Osiris in Luciferianism. Set has nothing to do with Satan. They're very different entities, beings. The only thing that could be considered what making them similar is the dark aspect. And why I'm kind of pushing this heavily right now is that this is a bit of a gross sub-connect in the community, and especially is coming from a lot of people who tend to like to use Satanism or the infernal divine's name to justify doing very disgusting, gross acts, and also pulling Egyptian deities' names into that as well. So overall, it's a very weird misconception. Chemeticism has nothing to do with the infernal divine or demonolatry. And with all of that being said, I used to actually work quite a bit with Egyptian deities until I got deeper into my practice with them. And I personally, as a mainly infernal divine practitioner, do not like 99% of Egyptian deities. I don't really like the Egyptian pantheon. I will read for them. There's clients of mine who do work with them. I don't judge people who work with them. You know, just how some people don't want to work with angels, don't want to work with maybe the Norse pantheon, because that's not their cup of tea. Working with the Egyptian deities, Chemeticism, is not my cup of tea, because I don't agree with their view of human beings and how they believe that human beings are less than them, that they are subservient, they need to be subservient to them, and they will not help you unless you prove yourself to them, as I have found in my direct experience. And I have found this to be true in a lot of experiences of people who come to me that do work very regularly with Kemetic deities. They will say, yeah, I had to go through all these trials, they put me to work, I do all this stuff. And if that's what you really feel called to, that's what you want to do, great, wonderful, I love that for you. But as an infernal divine practitioner, where they view humans as equal, where it is a partnership, where they believe that human beings have free will, they want us to understand that we are sovereign and to step into our power, they don't want you to bow before them. It is odd to me to have a divine being, a god, ask me to kneel in front of them just simply because they're a god, they're a deity, not out of, like love or respect or anything like that, which is something that I do for deities that help me, and I really do love them. That is something that is earned from me. It is not just expected and demanded from me. It's actually a very puritanical, Abrahamic religion sort of ideology or view, especially if you're coming from that type of a background and you have religious trauma. it sounds very much kind of like, oh, if you don't kneel before me, you're gonna go to hell. That's what that gives me. It doesn't really resonate with me because every single being is sovereign, every single soul is divine. Right now, you are a divine soul having a human experience that is temporary. Your original being, your original form, is not that of a human being. When you go off into the afterlife and you go back to your original form, you are not a human being. Therefore, no God, no deity, whoever is going to tell me that I must submit to them, I must bow to them, whatever is going on there, just blindly, because that's not how things work. At least over around here, that is not how things work. I love working with the Infernal Divine because they teach you to step into your power, to accept who you are, to really, really love yourself, and to say screw anybody who doesn't like me because I'm beautiful, just because I'm alive, I'm here, I have power, I'm sovereign, just for being here because my soul is already divine, and I don't need to do anything for it. I don't need anybody to prove anything to me. I don't have to change anything about myself. And that is not the experience that happens in every single pantheon as you're working with them and going through deity work and whatnot. So that's a little bit of the lowdown of what I want to start things off with. If you think that Egyptian deities are okay, or if you think it's okay to have somebody randomly mentioning Isis or Horus or whoever, but you start to frown and cast stones when somebody mentions Lucifer, Satan, Asmodeus, I would like you to really look into what each pantheon stands for. I would like for you to do your own research because there's very differing ideals, and honestly, if you want to condemn any type of divine being for being negative or harmful, I would honestly rear more towards the Kemeticism side, towards the ideologies, not necessarily every single deity or goddess or god within that pantheon, but the overall ideologies versus what the overall ideologies are within the Infernal Divine, within demonolatry.